SpellForce 3 is going to be released this year and is going to be a mix of roleplay game and real-time strategy. Real-time strategy means that you're going to conquer a huge map, place buildings on it, you're going to exploit resources, upgrade buildings, set up an army and send them to epic battles. And roleplay game because there's a small group of heroes that you recruit, equip with weapons, armors and potions and send them into battles with other heroes. In a fantasy world, SpellForce 3 is combining strategic challenges and roleplay game. You can explore this fantasy world in a single-player campaign, which takes more than 30 hours to complete. No less than 35 minutes are available. And there also is a multiplayer mode. And what it looks like and what it feels like to play it, you can try that even before release. Because on Friday, the 19th of May, a beta of this multiplayer mode is starting. The beta is going to run for a long time, at least until July, with new additional contents released week by week, like new factions or new maps. This crash course is going to guide you through the game, to make sure you're most successful when playing multiplayer mode. What we aim for after watching this video is that you're not maybe going to win each game, but at least you know what to do to make your foes struggle as much as possible. Please note that this version of the game that we used to create this video is not the final version. This means that some numbers you might see in the game, several features, the interface and many more things are subject to change. Also, several other languages such as German are going to be available. In this beta version of the game, the single-player mode is not yet available, but two other modes are. In skirmish mode, you can compete against the AI. You can set their difficulty, whether they're going to be an easy challenge, a tough one, and for advanced players, a really tough one. You may choose to create teams for you and your foes. So for example, you can put 1 or 2 in your team and play against another team. So maybe do a 2-on-2 or 3-on-1 or whatever you like. 2 different teams, however, need to be placed on the map. The real multiplayer mode is working very similarly. So when playing against other real players wherever on the world, it's going to be very much the same. You'll be able to set up whether you would like to play against your Steam friends or against anybody else on the lobby who might then join your game, for example. Of course, you can simply join a game as well, so if you find one on the lobby, hop on in. During the beta, more and more factions and maps are going to be available, so your choices will increase weekly. During the setup of the game, you decide the victory conditions of your game. The default victory condition is destroying the main building of all your foes. If you manage to do that, you will win the game. If, however, your foes destroy yours, you'll lose the game. When starting a new game, you'll be in charge of a single management building, the so-called town center. It'll be placed in the first sector you control. The map is divided into sectors. In front of the town center you can see those workers, who we will assign jobs to in a moment. The number of workers you may assign to jobs depends on the town center's level, so the further it's developed, the more workers will be available. When you click on the town center, you get to this screen. Down here you may recruit your first units and upgrade your town center in order to increase the number of workers. All of these actions, however, cost resources. So that means we should keep our workers busy in order to gain as many resources as possible. Click this button in order to open up the construction menu. Instead, you may also hit the K key on your keyboard. Constructing a resource building also costs resources. So for example, we're now going to construct a woodcutter's house. So we activate this, and now by using the arrow keys on your keyboard, you may move to the left and to the right. Also, you can of course only use your mouse. And now that we've activated a resource building, you can also see some numbers on the map. This is because there's only a limited number of any resource. Those numbers show you where to find which resources and how many of them. So we are now placing the woodcutter's house close to the woods, so the people don't have to walk too far. So now you can see the first 3 people moving, those are henchmen. So any worker that's not assigned to a task is a henchman. So what they do is basically carry stuff, like for example now the first wood planks to our woodcutter's lodge. Also, they pick up the resources in the respective building and carry them back to the town center. Now at the woodcutter's house, let's assign some workers. Now when the construction of the building has finished, they'll be our first lumberjacks. Can you see those guys carrying those axes? Now when we feel we have too few henchmen in town center, we may for example unassign workers in the respective building. But there's some more buildings that we need. Of course we need food, so let's construct a hunting cabin. By the way, we can also rotate each building by clicking and then moving the mouse before letting go of the mouse button. Then click again and the building is going to be placed. Can you see those balls running around right here? If you look closely, you will see numbers above their heads, which means they are a usable resource. On the left side here we can see a quarry. So let's place a stonecutter's house here. Do not forget to assign workers to each building, because if we do not assign any workers, we will see these red exclamation marks saying, hey, nobody's working here, uh-oh, this is not how we're going to gain resources. Now what we also need, of course, is a strong military. Because of course we also want to explore the map. You can see the minimap at the bottom left corner. And you can see that we have not uncovered too much yet. So there's two ways to get our first units. Here on the left side you can see a Godstone. This is where we get our heroes. And our basic units we get from the town center. For example, there's a simple recruit who costs 4 food units once, so there's no maintenance costs, and 3 population units. So let's click it and it's recruited in our town center. Population units have to do with the population limit. Here at the top you see 0 of 30, so the larger our empire gets and the more achievements we get, the higher this limit is going to be. Our civil workers do not go in there, so don't worry about that, but our military units do. Use the right mouse button to place a rallying point. So this is where all new units go, and now let's recruit some more. And now let's get our first hero. So in order to do that, we firstly click this Godstone, and now we may pick one of those 6 heroes in the bottom right corner, of which up to 3 may be recruited per match. This depends on the upgrade level of our town center, so now that our town center is in the basic level, we may only choose 1 hero at a time. Each hero has special abilities, like for example this is an archer, so a ranged unit. Of course there's also melee units, magicians, and so on. Now let's recruit this archer, and we right click on where we want him to go once he's been recruited. Alright, now here we have our first army, our hero and 3 recruit units of each 3 people. And now we want to move them, so drag a square around them by clicking and holding down the left mouse button. Oh, by the way, we can assign them to groups. If you double click one of those units, all of them will be selected, and if you then hold down the control button on your keyboard and for example press number 1, you will assign them to group 1. So now if you later press the number 1 key on your keyboard, all of those units will be active immediately. This allows you to create small groups of soldiers and then later attack from 2 wings, for example. For now, let's take all of them and have them run along this path. This way we may uncover the neighboring sectors. You can see those posts here, they mark a new sector. Now let's run over and conquer this sector. Each sector always is defended by anybody, so let's take a look at who is watching here. There they are, so these enemies are automatically attacked by our military units. However, by right-clicking on one certain enemy, our units will focus on them. Alright, now this was an easy one, so now let's click our hero and get over to this flag right here. So once he gets close enough and we left-click on the flag, he will start constructing a new management building. And once our hero has finished this sector belongs to us. And then this building will give us more workers that can kind of do the same things as at home in our start sector. It's all a little bit smaller over here. The building is smaller than in our home sector. And now there are 3 new workers. So you can see the resource icons here. As you can see, they don't have any stocks at all. Now, for example, we want to construct another woodcutter's house. I'm looking for trees. There are some. So now we construct it here, and now our henchmen would normally run over here, but they have nothing to carry because they don't have any planks. But you can see this carriage coming its way and brings them what they need in order to construct the building from our main sector. This happens all by itself, so there's nothing that you need to manage about this. Eventually you will have a great network of sectors, and this resource management system is done all by itself, so luckily there's nothing that you need to take care of. Now here we actually do the same, so assign workers, maybe not too many, because we always need to keep in mind that we need some henchmen to carry our stuff like our resources. In each battle our heroes gain experience points. We may use them to strengthen them, so now let's take a look at how to do this. Let's click our heroes and then click this button down here, and we're getting into this very important window. Up here, for example, you can see the quests menu. There's not too many of them on skirmish maps though. These are much more important in the single player campaign mode. On the left side you can find each hero's inventory, and on the right next to it his abilities. These are the most important menus here. Now let's take a closer look at them. So in the abilities menu on the right side you can see 5 main attributes. Those are strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution and willpower. You can see those numbers right next to it, and now that we have 1 attribute point available, we may spend it here. Spending it on strength, for example, will result in a higher health regeneration. Our hero's health is 296 right now, and this is his regeneration rate. Also, strength increases the block chance as well as the damage from melee attacks. So since our hero is an archer, this doesn't seem to make sense, so we might want to consider raising his dexterity value, because this increases the damage that archers cause by range attacks. This value down here then raises. Also, it's important for the crit chance. So that means causing critical damage during a battle. Alright, now let's take a look at intelligence. This increases our focus energy, which is some sort of our mana that he may use for special attacks. The next value, constitution, tells us about how much life points our heroes have. And willpower is important for our hero's defense, both physical and magical. Far more important for physical defense, however, is our hero's armor. But this is certainly one thing that the developers will tune until the final version of the game. But at least for magical defense, this is very important. Alright, now still in this very menu here on the left side, you can see the skill tree for our hero. And below down here you can see the ability points, of which 2 are available right now. So this up here is one of our base skills, the poisoned arrow. This special attacks costs 10 focus points, and it takes 5 seconds to cool down this ability before he may use it again, of course only if he has enough focus points. Okay, and the skills below you can always see whether they're locked, so if you can unlock them right now or not. So the poisoned arrow is available right now, so let's click it. You can see that the ability points then go down here. Now this skill is also required in order to unlock the following skills. We can also use our ability points in order to improve certain skills, like for example now, improve the poisoned arrow here. Depending on the skill, it then either gets stronger or more efficient or something like that. Sometimes you need something else in order to activate a new skill, for example a certain level of a certain attribute. Now let's take a look at the inventory. Here you can see a 3D animation of our hero. He already has certain equipments, for example a helmet, his armor and his weapon. So on the left is his inventory list, so if we, for example, loot new equipment or purchase it, or get it as a reward for fulfilling quests, it'll show up here, and then we may drag it into one of our hero slots. Keep in mind that certain equipments need both hands, so for example, our hero's bow makes him unable to additionally carry a shield, for example. If you hold your mouse cursor above one item, there'll be a tooltip which explains what this item does and what its properties are. Be wary though, for some items, you know that from other games, you might need a certain attribute level, for example, in order to use it. This armor, for example, requires Constitution 3. A good way to achieve good equipments is going to the merchant. You'll find him in your starting sector. So here he is. Now let's take our hero and walk over to him, and let's take a look at what he has for us. Right click on the merchant and you will get into this window, where on the right side you can see all the equipment, all the weapons and armors and stuff that you could purchase, while on the left side you can see the stuff that you have and that you might sell. So you can either trade items or just spend gold the classical way. How to get gold? Well, that's pretty simple, just by kind of running over them corpses. So you don't really have to pick up the gold, your heroes will just collect it automatically if you run across the slain enemies. Keep in mind though that not any enemy drops gold. Whenever you purchase something, make sure in advance that you really fulfill all the requirements, like for example certain attribute levels, in order to be able to, for example, equip the weapon or the armor or whatever. Those buttons up here are for sorting the list of the items that the merchants sell. In SpellForce 3 it's absolutely crucial to upgrade your management buildings as soon as possible. On the one hand, this will allow you to recruit more henchmen, but also your population limit raises. This will allow you to create greater militaries. Also, upgrading your town center will let you build more advanced buildings. In the bottom right corner, down here, you can upgrade your city center. It costs a certain amount of resources and then takes a time to get unlocked. While we wait for this, let's take a look at how research works in this game. The city center, for example, offers a technology down here that increases its hit points. This makes it more resistant against enemy attacks. After clicking many other buildings, you will find at the bottom right corner a certain icon. These unlock more advanced technologies, like for example, having your henchmen work faster, harder, or just carry more stuff. Once you've finished research for one technology in a certain building, it doesn't only count in this one building, but in all buildings of this kind on the whole map. In the meantime, we have upgraded our town center to a city center. It was important to do that because you can see that red symbol up here above our hunting cabin. This means all animals are gone. Oops. Well, while now we can just close down this hunting cabin, we still need some food sources. By clicking the pause button, you may really just pause the production for this certain building. Then you can see those henchman slots turn blue. The icon next to it lets you repair the building in case it got damaged by enemies, for example. If you do that, a henchman will be assigned to repair the building and some resources will be taken. But in this case, let's just tear it down. Click this bomb symbol, don't worry, it's not gonna explode. Then the building will be torn down and you will be refunded some of the resources that you spent. Now we still need some food, right? We get that with more advanced buildings. Click on the construction menu and you can see another tab here. So you can see those Roman numerals. Group 1 is for the simple early buildings, while now in Group 2 we have more advanced buildings. Like, for example, this farm. Now you can place this farm wherever you like. It doesn't really necessarily have to be a sort of greenish ground, so we just put it here now. And the farm is something very, very special. This is the only and unique building in SpellForce 3 that has unlimited resources. So there is no limit of trees or quarry or whatever. This farm will continuously create food throughout the game without any ends. So and now after we have torn down the old hunting cabin and our farms are busy, we are considering doing some more exploration on the map. What we could very well use for this is more advanced troops and also more troops. How to do that? Well, in the construction menu you can find barracks. So let's go ahead and try to place the barracks close to the main building. Here it goes. Now as you can see here, we could also assign some workers here. This is not really necessary, but we can do that in order to recruit new units a bit faster. So if we don't, we will still be able to recruit units, it's just gonna be a bit slower. So if you can afford that because you have enough henchmen available in the town center, you may just assign them here. So the construction of our barracks has finished. So we may now show you some more advanced units. You know those first two ones already? These are the same guys that you may recruit in the town center, the simple recruits. Pillagers are for tearing down enemy buildings, but are very weak in direct battle. And then you can see a lot of other different units that can only be constructed in the barracks. And they work the rock, paper, scissors way. That means any of them has certain strengths and also weaknesses against other certain units. For example, the very simple soldier is very effective against spearmen, but weak against cavalry. Scouts again, which are the cavalry, are strong against infantry, but very weak against spearmen. And the spearmen, which are called halberdiers in this game, are strong against cavalry, but weak against infantry. Ranged units eventually should be placed behind the infantry because they're weak in the direct battle. In order to recruit all of these kind of units, we need population points, which means we may not be on the population limit right now, and certain resources. The only two units that we may build right now is the pillager and the simple recruit, because all they need is food or food and planks. All of the other guys here require stuff we haven't even heard of. For example, iron bars. Iron is a very crucial resource in SpellForce 3. Let's click here in the minimap. So this is an outpost that we have upgraded that much that now we're able to also construct buildings of the second tier down here. And among others, you can see the iron mine here. So up here we have a huge iron deposit. So we're gonna place our mine just right next to it. Let's assign sufficient workers, that's very important. And then right next to the mine, what we need for further processing the iron is a iron smeltery. So this is where the iron ores are then smelted. So the henchmen are basically carrying them over to the smeltery. So we could basically also build it in another sector, but it definitely makes sense to place those buildings next to each other if possible, because then they don't have to walk that detour and can bring the resources directly to the next building. Otherwise, the henchmen would firstly bring them to the town center, and then in the other sector they would then pick them up and bring them back to the smeltery. That just takes too long, it doesn't make sense. The smeltery now is where the iron bars are being manufactured that we need in order to recruit that new kind of unit. And then there is another building that we may build here, which is the forge. That's where we can do advanced researches that make our units stronger, their armors harder, and so on and so forth. So in the meantime, we have done a lot of more exploration and have discovered a lot of sectors. And after an epic battle against giant spiders, we found this, another Godstone. So let's left click our hero and walk over. Click this Godstone, and now we activate this Godstone. We gain control of it. It is now ours. Now this allows us to create or recruit new heroes. But there's something more. We can now fast travel. We can use the Godstones to fast travel. Travel where? Well, to another Godstone that we have uncovered and gained control of. Select the Godstone you want to travel to and click Open Portal. And then this is a very comfortable way to send a lot of units fast and easy. There's one more very important thing that Godstones do, which is if one of your heroes dies, then you may revive him here. This is only possible though if you have at least one drop of blood left that you can see up here in the left corner. If you don't, well then that means that there is no further resources for revivalism left. But don't worry, you may also gain those blood drops by worshipping. Yep, it's as simple as that. So just assign henchmen to a Godstone that you control and they will create new blood drops for you. The more worshippers you send here, the faster you will get another blood drop and the sooner you will be able to revive one of your heroes. But there's also another way to revive your heroes, which is if you have a hero among yours who is capable of healing. He may have a dead comrade resurrect on the battlefield. By the way, your other units, the just normal soldiers, they get back life points just by time. That happens automatically, there's nothing you need to do about this, but your heroes need healing potions. The further we get away from our home sector, the more probable it gets to encounter really strong enemies. Here, like this bear for example. Now we can have our hero use a special ability called Haste, so everything he does after that is happening much faster. Followed by a poisoned arrow. Woo, that's gonna get him a lot of experience points. At some point you will have, of course, more than one hero. You'll find all of them at the top left corner. This is also where you can click their special abilities. Keep in mind that you need enough focus points for that, maybe. That's a blue bar below his avatar. And here's also where you can use potions for health or for focus points, for example. So in the meantime we have upgraded our city center to a citadel. Now this also lets us build tier 3 buildings, not only in our start sector by the way, but also in any other that we control. Like for example in this sector. And now here we can build a building for this very special resource, which is called Aria. And as you can see, we're not the only ones yet who have found it. We will need to defeat them first, and we could also build a stone tower like this one, which is much more effective than the old watchtowers from tier 1. And also we should assign watchmen here. It's absolutely crucial to always have enough henchmen, so always keep in mind that you need to upgrade your city centers whenever possible. Now let's get back to this resource. It's called Aria and we want it. Well, what is Aria? Well, it's a magical liquid that can be found beneath the surface of this secret planet. And in rare occasions it can be found in these Aria lakes, so that's where we need this building. Aria can then be further processed for a lot of beautiful things. Well, if the enemy lets you. It can be used, for example, to strengthen our magical abilities. In tier 3, by the way, you can also find a new building, which is an academy. This is a place where you can build really advanced, elite, absolutely strong units. They should be absolutely useful when going to the final expedition to our enemy's lands. So we hope this was helpful for you. Have fun with SpellForce 3. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.